A declassified report. A clear explanation. The case officially closed, but for millions, a chilling question persists. The truth of Roswell remains hidden, veiled in shadow. Why? Why do we so desperately crave the alien truth, even when evidence points elsewhere? Is it a primal hunger for the unknown? A deep-seated distrust of authority? This isn't just a story about a crash. It's about a wound in the collective consciousness. It's about the echoes of a promise broken. It's the story of asterisk, the Roswell Paradox, why we crave the alien truth. Asterisk, prepare to question everything. The year is 1994. The U.S. Air Force finally unveils its definitive report. The Roswell incident was a top-secret Project Mogul balloon, a scientific mission, not a spaceship. The original, hastily conjured flying disc explanation, a cover story to protect classified technology. But here's the paradox. For millions, this truth was the greatest lie of all. They craved something more, something extraterrestrial. If you stay until the end, you'll discover the profound psychological reasons why humanity needs the alien truth, even against all evidence. Why do we cling to the cosmic unknown, even when the terrestrial evidence screams otherwise? This isn't just about a crash in a New Mexico desert. This is about us. Our desperate need to believe. What deep-seated human desire does the alien narrative fulfill? The year is 1947. A world gasping for air after the global conflagration dared to dream again. Optimism, fragile yet potent, hung in the summer air. But beneath the surface, a new chill was settling in. The Cold War, a silent, simmering dread. And in the vast, unforgiving expanse of New Mexico, that tension was about to find its unlikely epicenter. July. The desert baked under an indifferent sun. Life here was slow, predictable. Rancher Mac Brazel knew every inch of his land near Corona, knew its silences, knew its secrets, but on this particular day, checking his sheep after a brutal thunderstorm, he would stumble upon something that defied every expectation, every known reality. It wasn't a meteor, not a plane, not anything he'd ever seen. Scattered across a wide expanse, glinting in the harsh light, lay fragments of a material utterly alien, lightweight, yet incredibly strong, unbendable yet pliable, pieces of metal, strange I-beams with hieroglyphic-like symbols, and rubber-like strips. The silence of the desert was shattered, not by sound, but by an impossible visual. But what nobody knew then was the true, terrifying nature of what Mac Brazel had found. And here the story gets bizarre. The strange fragments were brought to Roswell Army Airfield. An intelligence officer, Major Jesse Marcel, examined the wreckage. His eyes, trained by years of military service, registered the impossible. This was no ordinary crash. This was something else entirely. The air crackled with a silent, urgent energy. A decision was made. On July 8, 1947, the world stopped. The Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release, blunt and unequivocal. The many rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality yesterday, when the intelligence office of the 509th Bomb Group, Roswell Army Airfield, was fortunate enough to gain possession of a disc. A flying disc, a reality. The news detonated. It ripped through the mundane fabric of post-war existence, a thunderclap in a quiet sky. Suddenly, the Cold War, the housing shortages, the rationing, they all faded. The world was gripped by a single electrifying question. What was it? Asterisk speculation erupted like wildfire. Was it Russian, German, a leftover Wunderwaffe, or something else? But what nobody knew then was the unprecedented panic this announcement had triggered in the highest echelons of power. But the world's breathless anticipation was brutally short-lived. A cruel twist of fate. Less than 24 hours later, on July 9, 1947, the narrative violently course-corrected. The military, the same military that had proudly announced the disk's capture, issued a stunning, dizzying retraction. The initial press release, a mistake, a fabrication, the flying disk, merely a conventional weather balloon, a flimsy explanation, a convenient lie. Was it incompetence, or something far more sinister? They expected us to believe it, to simply accept. But a seed of doubt, once planted, is impossible to uproot. The truth, they claimed, was mundane, but the feeling in the air, it was anything but. The swiftness of the reversal was jarring. One day, alien technology; the next, mylar and meteorological instruments. The public, still reeling from the initial shock, now found itself adrift in a sea of confusion. How could such a monumental error be made? Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who had handled the debris, was photographed with pieces of the alleged balloon. His expression in those photographs would become legendary, a subtle, almost imperceptible hint of something amiss. The official explanation felt hollow, too neat, too quick. A deep, unsettling silence descended where frenetic speculation once thrived. The story, once bursting with extraterrestrial possibility, was deflated, but for a persistent few, the seeds of doubt had been planted. They sensed a curtain had been drawn, not to reveal but to conceal. And that, dear students, is where the real story begins to twist. And that, dear students, is where the real story begins to twist. Because while you're watching this, while most people are still stuck on weather balloon, the truth of that retraction is far more complex, far more urgent. It wasn't aliens. It wasn't a simple weather balloon. It was Project Mogul, a top-secret military operation. Its mission, to listen, to detect, to hunt for the silent, invisible tremors of a new global threat. The year is 1947. The Cold War is nascent, chilling the world. The Soviets, our former allies, were rapidly developing their own nuclear capabilities. The U.S. desperately needed an early warning system. Mogul was that system, a network of high-altitude balloons designed to float at the very edge of space, 60,000 to 100,000 feet, equipped with ultra-sensitive acoustic microphones. These were engineered to pick up the infrasound waves of distant nuclear detonations. Think of it as a silent, soaring eavesdropper. The debris Marcel collected, the tinfoil, rubber, tape, and wood he described, it matches Mogul equipment perfectly. The radar reflectors, the acoustic arrays, the balloon clusters themselves. This was the real secret, the actual cover-up. Not aliens from another world, but a chillingly effective, incredibly important, domestic intelligence operation. An operation so vital, so clandestine, that lying about alien wreckage was considered a small price to pay. And in a few months, this understanding will change everything about how you view the Roswell incident. And that small price, it worked for nearly 3 decades. The world, exhausted from war, distracted by the burgeoning consumer age, simply moved on. The official weather balloon story, however flimsy, clung to the collective memory like dust on an old photograph. No internet, no social media. News traveled at the speed of print, then radio, then television. But by then, Roswell was yesterday's news, a fleeting blip, a curious footnote. The silence was profound. Not a silence of suppression, but of genuine oblivion. Generations grew up with no knowledge of a crashed disk in New Mexico. The very idea of Roswell, of alien wreckage, evaporated from public consciousness. It became a story told only in hushed tones by a handful of locals, dismissed as desert folklore. The official narrative, however thin, held the world was too busy building suburbs, fighting new wars, dancing to new rhythms. Roswell was a ghost. But what nobody knew was that within that quiet, within that long sleep, the seed of something entirely different was germinating. A seed planted not by the government, but by the very men who had touched the debris. A seed of doubt that would, 3 decades later, crack open the desert floor and unleash a storm that would change everything. And it all started with one man breaking his silence. The year is 1978, 31 years after the desert silence, 31 years after the swift retraction. Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer at the heart of the original recovery, now a retired lieutenant colonel, a man whose subtle expression in old photographs always hinted at more, decided he could no longer hold his peace. He was an old man now, his military career long behind him, the oath of secrecy loosened by the passage of time. His words, delivered to ufologist Stanton Friedman, were a thunderclap. He didn't just hint, he declared. The weather balloon story, a cover-up, he stated, his voice steady, resolute. The debris he collected was not of this earth. He described materials unlike anything he'd ever encountered, light as air, yet incredibly strong, unbendable, unburnable, peculiar symbols, he recalled, etched into beams. This wasn't a weather balloon, this was something else, something asterisk, alien asterisk. Marcel's testimony wasn't just a claim, it was an ignition. It shattered the decades of silence. It injected a potent dose of official credibility into a fringe idea, transforming it from local folklore into a global enigma. This wasn't a conspiracy theorist. This was the man who had asterisk been there, asterisk who had asterisk touched it, asterisk. His words rippled, a shockwave through the nascent UFO community. The ghost of Roswell began to materialize, gaining form and substance with every syllable he uttered. The military's carefully constructed lie, designed to protect Project Mogul, now boomeranged, fueling the very myth it was meant to suppress. The seed of doubt, dormant for so long, had finally found fertile ground, and it was about to blossom into the most enduring, most captivating alien myth of our time. But Marcel wasn't alone in his revelation. Others would follow. Others would add layers to this burgeoning mystery, each new testimony twisting the narrative further, pulling it deeper into the realm of the truly extraordinary. Jesse Marcel's interview, a whisper in the wind, was about to become a roar. Enter Charles Berlitz and William Moore. In 1980, their book, The Roswell Incident, landed like a meteor. It didn't just popularize Marcel's testimony, it amplified it. It solidified the not of this earth narrative, casting the weather balloon as the ultimate government deception. Remember what I said at the beginning, the paradox of craving the alien truth, even when the official explanation is clear. Marcel's testimony, amplified by authors like Berlitz and Moore, didn't just reopen the Roswell case, it tapped into a primal human need, a need for wonder, for significance beyond our mundane existence, for a truth that feels grander, more